Okay, so next I would like to cover the triple stroke roll, which is fairly self-explanatory in terms of what it is. You can probably guess if our single stroke roll was 1 note per hand, and our double stroke roll was 2 notes per hand. Our triple stroke roll, of course, will be 3 notes per hand. So slowly. Of course, it can be any subdivision, any speed, up to what you can accomplish. It does have kind of its own unique challenges. I would say it's probably more difficult to get clarity and speed out of it than the single stroke or double stroke roll. Especially that third note is gonna wanna die out on you, like this. So if you just sort of set it and forget it, as in make one large motion and then just bounce the rest, then it's inevitably going to die out. So you basically have to put some force either through your wrist or your fingers, or maybe muscles up here in your elbow, into all 3 strokes, especially the second and especially the third one, if you want to get a more even sound. Of course, you can play them all as individual wrist strokes. That's easier to get clarity that way, but once you get into a faster tempo, I'm kind of throwing it down with the larger muscles in my arm, like my elbow, and maybe my shoulder if I was playing really loud. But usually the elbow. And then I'm kind of supplementing the second and third notes with the fingers and wrist. Or else you're going to get this kind of one loud, two quiet sound, which is its own thing. But in terms of practicing, I'd recommend going for the more even sound. Like this. So, normally this would be played as triplets. Like I think it's usually notated as 16 triplets most commonly. So look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. But of course you can play it at whatever subdivision. And the triple stroke, if you want to play up-tempo jazz, having a right hand triple stroke figured out is basically a prerequisite. So, of course you want the left hand too, but in a jazz context, obviously the ride cymbal rhythm, that's going to be your dominant triple stroke. Okay, and an exercise I like to do with these involves putting them into like a 4-note context, like a 16th note context. And basically what it is you have one hand playing just the rhythm, like 1 EN, 2 EN, 3 EN, 4 EN. Etc., right? And the other hand will join in with that and will move through all the different 3-note rhythms that kind of happen within one beat. So like, of course, there's the same rhythm. And then there's starting on the E. So slowly. 3 E and A, 4 E and A. Starting on the and, which if you think about starting on the and, that's going to be like and a 2. So it also includes the note on the downbeat. So I start with like 1, so like 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3, with the other hand staying in the same original position. One E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a, 1. And the last position, starting on the so like to E, which means that the downbeat and the E are also taken up. So I start with 1 E, like this. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and like so. So those are the kind of 4 combinations we're dealing with. One hand always staying, one hand moving. And the way I usually practice them, I mean, you could do this in any kind of arrangement, but I usually do 2 measures of whichever hand is staying in the same position, just by itself. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 4 measures of the next combination. So the first one is the unison. Third measure, fourth measure, 3, 4. And then I basically repeat that same structure, 2 measures plus 4 measures, 2 alone, 4 together with all 4 of those combinations. And then once you've done that, I do 2 final measures alone, and then I swap hands. So, you know, right now I was just using my right hand as the constant rhythm, and the left hand as the moving rhythm, but I would switch. And I go through that whole process again with the left hand as the constant and the right hand moves. So the second half would just be the same, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, and then you're done. That's the whole exercise, at least in that format. You know, you could do however long you want. So let me give a demonstration of that, which will, I think, help it make sense. Just really quickly, the 4 combinations we're dealing with are with right hand as the constant for now. This one, this one, this one, and finally this one. Okay, let me do that with a metronome. Do it at 100. It can get pretty fast, like up to maybe 140. I mean, you know, beyond that is certainly possible, but for me, like 140 maybe, at least at this point. And it definitely, there is an endurance element too if you do it in that arrangement of the 2 measures plus 4 measures, because really, and then 2 measures at the end also, you're going to be doing 26 measures of this, right? So that's 104 3-note groupings in a row with that hand. So you have to, you know, have pretty good stamina with the 3-note groupings at whatever tempo you're doing it. All right, so let's do 100. Okay. 1, 2, 1, 2, right hand by itself. Second measure, unison. Last measure, alone again. Second combination. By itself. Third combination. Ready? Last 1, 2, 3. Okay. Then you would do everything. I'll spare you the whole thing, but you would do everything on the left side then, just as I just did on the right. So after those final 2 measures, then et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And when you're doing this, you want to, as much as you can, try to avoid flams, like accidental flams, in terms of your timing on these various combinations. So like, you know, for example, if you're playing this one, I don't know. That's the left hand on one E end, and then the right hand in the second position. You know, it's tricky, but you want to try not to get like a, which is kind of an eternal struggle, but as close as you can. Almost like as if it was of course it's not, so it's never going to sound quite like that, but just trying to be really careful with the unison strokes and not like this, which is very easy for that to happen, especially at higher speeds. And then it can all fall apart. So anyway, that's the triple stroke, you know, in that variation, and of course its default version which is also plenty hard. So I think if you just practice both of those, that'll give you plenty to work on with triple strokes.